Majo John Madden on my hotel balcony in Xalapa, Mexico, Juarez Park neighborhood, downtown, right near the Palace of Governors. I'm 2 blocks from there. 1 block off of the main drag, which is down there, where those cars are stopped. Gutierrez, something Luz Gutierrez Calle Avenida. It's about 6:30 in the morning and the light is starting to come up. I made a video, and I'll give you a little shot of me. There I am. Last night I made a video, 1 minute short, where I promised that I would do a long about how relationships are coming back to me. Been traveling 3.5 years in a camper van, and loneliness has been a main issue. So much of the time in places where I know nobody, and usually only in the company of a dog, but for the last 4 months I've not had a dog. The trajectory of my travels has been towards longer stays in places, deeper connection, and yesterday was a special day for me. It was the day of my son's birthday, 48 yesterday. My son, who is a relationship that seems to have terminally gone away from me. Here and there, a hopeful person will say, he'll come back to you eventually. I keep pitching, keep reaching out to him, but in my heart of hearts, I don't expect to ever talk to him again, or see him again, or ever see my grandkids. But yesterday on his birthday, I did reach out to him. I did send him a video and an email. Course in Miracles is one of the spiritual teachings that's influenced me a lot in my life. And one of the things they say in there is nothing that is truly yours can ever be taken away from you. It will always come back. So yesterday, 4 relationships came back to me in one form or another, personally, directly. Last night in the Bola de Oro coffee shop, a guy named Edgar stood over me at the table. I had no idea who he was, but he knew me. John. I had met him and his wife over a very enchanted breakfast about 2 months ago out in the Colonia Moctezuma, maybe 16 miles out of downtown Xalapa. The very first time I ever stumbled onto a Rubiel and Mariel's pop-up restaurant on the side of a hill in the lovely Colonia of Moctezuma, and it turned out to be a real haven for me. I loved those people. They had my sense of humor. I had spent 3 months in intense connection with a family in a tiny little 400-person pueblo of El Diamante over by the coast. But they were sweet and simple people, and in many ways not like me. They sure didn't get my raucous sense of humor, which they found outrageous and still enjoyed often. But here in the big city of Xalapa, it's more progressive, more sophisticated, and Mario and Rubio, and that morning Edgar and his spouse over breakfast, we all jammed with each other. It was there that I learned that the real secret of Xalapa is the pampuras. That women in Xalapa have the best asses in Mexico. And I am not one to dispute that. I've been enthralled. Now that's humor that wouldn't go over with so many of my women friends in the U.S. But in that circle, when Rubio, the big strapping husband, early 30s, had been a ranch worker but now casting his lot with this restaurant. Well, he was the one who said that, and all four people laughed, including the two women, educated, sharp, strong women, not hesitating to laugh about women's asses, and they agreed. They said, the pompudas here are spectacular. So there was Edgar, who I had met only once, came back to me last night. The second old relationship, much older, that came back, Greta. Greta and her husband Dave are two people from the Asheville area where I lived 16 years who have a really strong relationship. I'm not always keen on monogamous relationships, but theirs seems to really work. And they get me. They get me. Again, they get my sense of humor. Because with Edgar and Rubio and Mario, when I riffed off of the Pompudas joke by saying, so would it be okay for me to go up to a woman in Xalapa and say, wow, you have a great Pompudas? They said, no, that's too direct. No, you can't do that. So I said, well, what if I just said, gee, I love your scarf. And, oh, mama, that Pompudas. They said, no, that still won't work. But we were on the same page. Greta, when I was in Chicago, I had sent her an audio piece of humor about my day in Chicago. And she and Dave wrote me and said, you have got the Chicago Saturday Night Live timing and sense of humor down pat. So they get me. Yeah, so they responded to, I guess I had, how did they come back to me? Just kind of out of the blue. She also is, Greta is also a Mexico connection of mine because she has traveled extensively in Mexico. But we hadn't traveled. We had talked in April after I'd been here just a month, and I've been here almost 9 months now. So she and Dave got back to me, and that was great. We haven't talked yet, but hopefully we will. The third relationship that came back to me yesterday was Elia from El Diamante. Of the big extended family, 3 nuclear families there that I got really close with, Elia was the one I got closest. She speaks mostly Spanish, but some English. And with the Google Translator, we shared a lot, including having conflict, which Mexicans are not great at. But she hung in with me through pretty strong conflicts about the ways we see the world. And I had not corresponded with them. I've been gone from there for about 3 months, 4 months, about 4 months now. Maybe about 5 months. I hadn't talked, I sent them a message 2 months before, and they've been on my mind a lot. I actually had shot a video and written a message to send them, but hadn't done it. And she reached out and said, hi, how are you? So I sent her that stuff, and we're back in touch. And the most spectacular relationship to come back to me is a young woman named Brandon, probably in her 40s, up in Appalachia. My first year on the road was all through the high mountains of Appalachia. I never actually met up with Brandon, but I knew her from our church. She had moved away, but she would come back periodically because we had a really strong mutual friend there. And I always liked her, and we had a very strong connection, I guess through Facebook or Facebook Messenger, sharing emails, sharing songs. And The day before yesterday, I had booted up a song, I Fucking Know, by Not Going to Medicine for the People, that I got from her. No, she sent me a different song by him, but she had opened up that whole page for me. And when I used that song, I took it as a chance to reach out to her, even though we had not talked for 3 years. Things had gotten really quite tragically snagged between me and our mutual friend, Jan. And Greta got caught up in the crossfire of that, and our relationship went away. But when I reached out to her yesterday, or the day before, I did not expect to hear back from her. But early yesterday I did. She sent me a beautiful message, totally healing, reaching out message. I got a chance to send one back to her. She liked that. And I feel grateful. I feel really grateful. I feel freshly reassured that healing is always possible, and that loneliness and isolation are not the bottom line. They've been a big ripple in the last 3 years for me. But the direction of things is more contact, more connection, more love, more healing. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with that. That's the truth. As far as I'm concerned, that's the truth.